All right, today we're going to dig into a question that's so fundamental you've probably never even thought to ask it. What is this incredible, kind of invisible principle that stops the entire internet from just collapsing on itself?
No, really, think about it for a second. We're constantly adding new apps, new cables, new countries, literally billions of new devices, and stuff is failing on the network every single second. So how does this gigantic global system with no one in charge not only stay afloat, but actually get better? Well, the answer is way more clever than you might imagine.
To really get why the solution is so genius, let's just imagine the opposite for a minute. Let's call it the monolithic internet, a world where every single piece is hardwired to every other piece. You want to launch a new video app? Okay, well, you'd have to get all the router companies to change their hardware. You want to lay down some new, faster fiber optic cable? Guess what? Every app developer on Earth has to update their code. It would be a complete and total nightmare. It would be brittle, and it would just stop evolving.
And that chaotic mess of an idea leads us right to the unbelievable challenge the internet's original designers were up against. They weren't just trying to build a big network, they were trying to solve what honestly looked like an impossible problem.
So here's what they were facing. First, just mind-bending complexity. No single person could ever see the whole picture. Second, you've got this wild mix of stuff. It had to work on old university computers, brand new smartphones, over Wi-Fi, fiber, cellular, you name it. Then, you've got thousands of companies who are all competing with each other but somehow have to cooperate. And the big one, there's no update button. You can't just turn the internet off and on again. Any change has to be rolled out piece by painful piece.
So, the billion-dollar question. How did they solve it? The answer is a word you might have heard in a college class and immediately fell asleep. Layering. But, and this is key, we need to completely forget the dusty old textbook version. This isn't about some boring diagram. It's a living, breathing design philosophy that's all about one thing: survival. See, on the left, that's what we usually think of. A super rigid, formal model, like that old 7-layer OSI thing, where everyone's obsessed with exactly how many layers there are. But on the right, that's the internet's reality. It's practical. It's a principle that cares way less about the number of layers and way more about creating super stable, reliable handshakes between them. It's built to be flexible and solve actual, real-world problems. And this quote just nails it. Let that sink in. The point was never to draw a pretty picture for a textbook. The point was to define these rock-solid interfaces so the whole crazy global system could grow and change without anyone being in charge. That is the secret sauce. These stable interfaces mean you can completely revolutionize one part of the system without breaking everything else.
So what does a layer actually do? Well, 3 simple but powerful things. First, it hides all the messy details from the layer below. Your web browser has no idea and doesn't care if you're on Wi-Fi or satellite connection. Second, it offers a clean, simple service to the layer above it. Like the transport layer just promises, hey, I'll get your data there reliably. And third, maybe most importantly, it limits assumptions. It stops the layer above from relying on how the layer below does its job. And that's what keeps the whole thing from turning into a brittle house of cards. Okay, so that's the big idea. Now, let's get practical. How does this principle actually cash out in the real world? Because this isn't just theory, right? It's the thing that solves the concrete problems that would otherwise make the internet totally unmanageable. This is where it gets really cool. Take unmanageable complexity. Layering means an engineer working on Netflix can just focus on video streaming and not have to be an expert on how fiber optic cables work, or vendor interoperability. This is why your iPhone can talk to a Google server running on Linux. They don't have to be built the same way, they just have to speak the same language at the interface. Uneven evolution. That's how we've been able to improve the core guts of the internet for decades without breaking old websites. And fault isolation, this is huge. It lets an engineer figure out, okay, the network connection is fine, so the problem has to be in the app. It lets you debug systematically instead of just guessing.
But here's the catch. This beautiful design, it's not a law of physics. It's a choice. It's architecture. And that means the rules can be bent and they can be broken. And when you violate this principle of layering, yeah, you might get a short-term win, but it comes at a huge, huge cost. This is how a robust system slowly dies. It often starts with something that sounds smart, a cross-layer hack. It's a clever little optimization that secretly makes one layer depend on the internal guts of another. That leads to tight coupling, when you can't change one thing without causing a dozen other things to break.
And before you know it, you get cascading failures, where one tiny hiccup somewhere over here spreads like a wildfire through the system instead of being contained.
And it all comes down to this one incredibly dangerous trade-off. The entire success of the internet is built on decades of disciplined choices. Its architects consistently chose long-term health and the ability to evolve over squeezing out every last drop of performance in the short term. And that discipline, that's what's kept it alive.
So all of this thinking, all these principles, they lead us to the internet's most famous and honestly most perfect metaphor, the hourglass. This simple shape, it just beautifully captures the genius of the whole design.
So, up at the top of the hourglass, you have this wide, constantly growing world of applications. We're talking web browsing, video streaming, email, online games, and a million other things that haven't even been invented yet.
Then, right in the middle, you have the narrow waist. This is the Internet Protocol, or IP. And here's the brilliant part. They kept this layer as simple and stable as humanly possible. Its only job is to do its best to get a little packet of data from point A to point B. That's it. It doesn't guarantee it'll get there, it doesn't know what's inside. By doing almost nothing, it enables almost everything.
And then, below that tiny waist, you've got another huge, diverse world of physical technologies that are always changing. We're talking fiber, Wi-Fi, 5G, satellite. It really doesn't matter. As long as a new technology can figure out how to carry those simple IP packets, it can plug in and become part of the internet.
And this is the massive payoff. This hourglass structure, which is enforced by that layering principle, is what allows for permissionless innovation. What that means is anyone, anywhere on the planet, can dream up a new application or a new network technology and just plug it in. You don't have to ask a committee for permission. That simple, stable waist ensures that wild innovation can happen on the top and the bottom, completely independently of each other. It's beautiful.
So as we're standing here today, building the next wave of massive global systems, things like AI, the Internet of Things, you name it, this whole story leaves us with a really big question. Are we actually remembering the most important lesson the Internet ever taught us? Are we remembering that disciplined trade-off that has let it survive for half a century, choosing long-term resilience and the freedom to evolve over short-term optimization? It's a question that's probably more important now than it has ever been.